Okay, we're just going to give you a little update on the progress on the Orange Beetle project. We showed you before the rear panels in. We modified the wires here. I think I mentioned that earlier. They originally were going over the top of the transaxle. You know, they came through the bulkhead on the driver's side, crossed over the top of the transaxle, and then came up these two holes right there. Well, we shortened them and brought them through these gland nuts, which allows them to not be hanging over anything or dragging on anything, and come up the most direct route from that contactor box. So we did that. We've of course we wired the J1772. We've done all the wiring from the controller wiring harness. We've got the charger wired, the enable, and of course the AC in and the DC out. Here's the DC out up here. Comes down, goes forward, and connects underneath the back seat. So what's going to go on in here is when we bolt our battery box in place, it bolts through the firewall, and there will be a strap on this side of the firewall on both ends of the battery pack, and then there will be a strap, and it's bolted to the floor. And so nothing in the way on this side, on the driver's side. On the passenger side, once we put the coolant reservoir and stuff in there, I don't know if it's going to be in the way or not. So we're just going to wait on that. And so we'll put that coolant reservoir back, the radiator and fans, after the battery box is mounted in place. So that's the current status in the engine bay. Under the bonnet, everything is wired and ready to go. You saw our added components before. We got the terminal strip. We've got our safety interlock relay, our AVC2. We've got our reversing relay. The rest of this was all here. We removed some wires. Some of them, you know, I don't know what their intended purpose was. You know, but we've just left that. That's not something. We're not redoing the wiring on the car. We're just completing the conversion. So that's all complete. Let's take a look at under the back seat and from the driver's seat. So under the back seat we have the auxiliary battery, and that has some connections going to it. We've got the DC to DC converter goes to it. What else? Off the top of my head, the DC to DC converter, and one other item. This is the vehicle electronics, that one. We've got one other wire, and I don't remember what it's for at the moment. But anyway, added two connections to the positive terminal of the battery. Underneath the back seat on the opposite side of the tunnel, on the driver's side, we've got our box, and we haven't made the cover for it yet, and it's complete with the exception that our traction pack, wiring is not complete. So what we have is we're going to have our battery positive come in here. After it goes through our main disconnect switch, it goes to our main contactor and goes through the main contactor here, goes out this one, which goes to the positive on the controller. And then and I don't know, usually we put the most positive in the front pack, so it'll go from that front pack through that main disconnect, like I said, through the main contactor to the controller. The other side then of that front pack comes up, goes through our fuse, and goes to the rear pack. It goes through the rear pack and comes out to the shunt. And this side goes through the shunt to the controller. Also on the shunt on this side is our DC to DC converter, and the charger. The charger goes there also. So this goes to the negative from the charger. Is a negative here. Here's the positive from the charger coming through here. Because I explained all this to you before. We got the KSI relay down there. This is a fuse for the DC to DC converter. So that's it. I mean, that's all there is to it. So, like I said, when the battery boxes are complete, then they need to be mounted, the cells installed, interconnected. But once the battery boxes are installed, we'll finish running our double aught cabling, because we'll know our exact length and everything. We could do it now, but I just like to do it once everything is decided. You're less likely to make a mistake that way. So anyway, that's that. And then we put the seat in, and we've got the throttle in place. Turn my light. So we got the Prius throttle mounted, and brake and clutch pedals. Feels comfortable for me, just sitting in the seat, pretending, going through the gears, using the throttle. Everything seems to be nice, and no conflict with pedals or anything like that. But we'll see when we drive it. So, like I said, everything is wired. And so we swapped the Curtis 840 display, rotated that up right now. Got the battery hooked up so you can see the JLD 404. We have our reverse switch and our coast switch. We turn on the ignition. You can hear the DC to DC contactor click on. Our system energized light comes on just to remind you that the ignition is on. You press this button right there, that puts you in coast mode, just like driving a DC conversion. Then it's just going to freewheel. Button out, you have regenerative braking, which is programmable. And this is our reverse. You press the reverse, the blue light comes on just to remind you it's in reverse. You can also still use the transmission reverse. I like the electric reverse. And so, second gear, you back up, You go again. Never even have to touch the stick shift. And away you go. So, just waiting on that outside vendor, as we so often have to. But our part is done pretty much as far as we can go at this point. So we're just waiting, and then we'll complete this and do a test drive, call the vehicle owner, they can come get it out of here. So that's the latest, and we'll update you when we get the battery boxes.